Hi, folks. So I am here with the lovely Stevie, my also astrologer and friend. So we're here for we're going to do a yearly forecast, astrology forecast for this year, because there is so much going on this year. And I thought it would be fun to do it with Stevie. So welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me. Do you know what? It's so lovely, Hannah, because we did that beautiful conversation on the power of astrology, and this just feels like a lovely follow-on, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I won't go too much into it, but Steve, I will put your details when I post this on YouTube. So you have Stevie's wonderful details on Instagram, and you can connect with her because she is beautiful. She is beautiful, and her astrology is amazing. So yeah, so I guess to dive into it, I mean, there's so much going on, isn't there? And obviously we're in February now, so we've already been like Pluto's already gone into Aquarius. But I thought if we move through it sort of month by month, we could just intuitively go where we go. So, and also just to add, we are if anyone is into numerology, we are in a 9-year. So it's all about shedding. There's a big theme of shedding, letting go. The whole karma is going to be a big theme this year, added to the craziness of this year with planets and outer planet shifts. So we've got a lot going on. So maybe if we dive into the Pluto in Aquarius thing and go, because this is such a big transit, and you probably, if you're into astrology, will know about this. It's going to be in Aquarius till 2044. So it's a massive shift from the Pluto in Capricorn, which was about breaking down structures in government, and I feel like things were really illuminated. Where the structures weren't working, they were like shone a light on, and things were kind of exposed, if you like.
Yeah, they were totally exposed. Do you know what I find quite fascinating, actually, like having a little look at, because obviously we've got the second full moon of this year happening in like a week's time, isn't it? Full moon in Leo. And I was thinking about those opposing polarities around this Pluto in Aquarius and the Leo, and how like the shedding of our ego is going to be so illuminated. And it's quite beautiful. We've ended up doing the 2025 astrology forecast in February, when everything's moving forward. Jupiter's moving forward back into Gemini. We're just kind of getting going. And that like veil around, and I spoke about it around like the me and the we, and it's like, how can you put the me in the we and vice versa? Because we're going from that ego sense, which, you know, Leo energy can have this tendency. It's like, where have we built up this idea of external validation, external successes that we've seen very much in the patriarchy of Pluto and Capricorn, and how that's just dismantled at such a great level that we're all wanting to step into this courageous heart energy of like, these are my values and this is what I want and this is my freedom. And it's like the question of the week with astrology, with the Mercury Cazimi in Aquarius on the 9th of Feb, is like, are you ready to face your truth, your karma, the number 9 year? I just
love
feel
it. Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. I thought it was a download coming through. Yeah, brilliant how you worded that, me to we, because Aquarian energy is so much about community and how are we serving the collective. It's not an individual thing. It is about honoring our uniqueness and our zone of genius, but it's much more, I would say it's much more of an inclusive energy. Rather, that Pluto in Capricorn was like, how can I benefit from this situation? How can I climb to the top of the mountain? Which of course we need to do, but this is more like, right, we need our tribes, we need the people that light us up around us to be able to climb to the top of the mountain much easier, which I would think of as a Capricorn.
Yeah, I love it. I know, it's so true, isn't it? And that Pluto in Aquarius is really connecting us to that. But I equally think Aquarian energy, it's got that beauty around that it's in the community. But Aquarian energy, I feel, especially with Leo, it's this unconditional love. It's this ability to allow others to grow, to have mercy, to have the ability to go, do you know what, you've crossed my path. I'm going to allow you to, you know, have grace here, allowing ourselves to have grace and other people around us to have grace. Doesn't mean that we don't have boundaries around who and what accesses us, but there's that detached energy around what is the mirror. I've got this post, like, I feel like that Man in the Mirror song is ultimately the only thing that you can have accountability and responsibility for is you, and everyone else around you in your community is going to be variable. Your external environment is going to be variable, like the change of nature that we see in our landscape. And your only truth, your only home is you. And that comes back to like your heart, you know, your Leo.
That's beautiful. I love that. When you're saying about a mirror, do you know, I did a cacao ceremony the other day, and there was this key theme that everyone was sharing. Of course, I never share who they are, but it was apparent that we are, when you say that mirror, it's like people are really stepping into their truths even more. And I don't know, we've talked about this, stepping out of that people-pleasing energy. Like, I'm still a recovering people-pleaser. And the thing is, when we shine, when we hold up, when we stand in our truth, we're gonna trigger people and rock the boat. And that is, if you want to move mountains in this world, it's not an easy truth, but you are gonna trigger people, you're gonna rock the boat, right? And this has taken me a long time to realize this, because as the whole good girl programming of like, you want to be liked and accepted by everyone, but if you want that, you know, significant impact through your work, you have to speak from the heart. And when I think of the heart and Leo, it is about that courage. Stand and go, this is what I believe in. You might not agree with it, this is my truth, and I might rock the boat, but that's okay, you know. So it's like, I feel like that soaring of fire is coming through at the moment. I know we're in Aquarius, but that, like you say, polarity with Leo,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's really apparent. And actually, I'm going to share this because I feel this is relevant. I just felt like called to pull a card yesterday, and I feel like this is quite apparent for the collective. The card, right? Facing the fear and looking at it in the eye, you know, because I always think of Leo, you know, is a bold energy, but there's also this real feminine playfulness to it, you know, like the lioness, that she is the one that hunts. There's this raw, like, sensual energy that somehow that this, I feel like that moon is helping us embody a deeper level.
Yeah. And equally enough, like, I know we've got like the Mars retrograde to talk about, which is apparent this month, and we had it at the end of the year, Leo, and the Mars and Venus retrogrades are playing such a powerful play in 2025. They are formulating that divine masculine, divine feminine energy, our structure, our boundaries, our playfulness, our creativeness, our ability to fall, to collapse in through creation, which comes mistakes, revolution, new ideas, rebirth, grief, all of that, all encompassing. And it's like our ability to be able to hold and flow through that. It's beautiful, isn't it? And that Mars Leo retrograde, I think, really helped dismantle some of those ideas maybe that we held about ourselves. And the playfulness, like, we are like the Pluto in Capricorn and the Pluto in Aquarius, it's getting rid of this ideal that maybe we have to reach certain standards. And the world that we have has created so much safety for us that we've learned to stop the ability to be able to make mistakes. We don't want to own our mistakes. We want to be perceived as like perfection, everything, like we've got all our stuff together. Which actually we're moving way beyond that. And the more that you can take accountability and responsibility for yourself, Aquarius, originally Saturn ruled, that structure and accountability, your freedom is in your truth to set you free, right? But it's being fearless enough to go, I'm going to face you head on.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's when you said about that, it's a reminder that, you know, Saturn rules Capricorn, and it also rules Aquarius, depending what system you use in astrology. So we're still in that Saturn energy, but it's very different, like you say, because Aquarius is the taking responsibility. I think there's a radical side to it as well, because Capricorn is like, what is safe? Like, I'm responsible, I'm building my legacy. And Aquarius cares about that, but in a different way. And it's like, I'm feeling like we were in that cardinal energy of Capricorn, initiating things, starting projects, climbing up the mountain, and that moving into the fixed energy of Aquarius, like, and this focus on the feminine with the Mars Venus retrograde we'll go into. But it's like, I'm kind of getting this idea of like, how do we stay in our feminine but have a container for that feminine flow, you know, for that creativity? Because I always think for the feminine to be in its full power, it needs a container, it needs a structure to flow, to allow it to flow freely.
It's so beautiful. And the Aquarian energy is the water bearer, isn't it? So, which is contained within a jug that gives life, which you see that. I always think like a jug of water is like the ultimate visualization in terms of simplicity of the structure of feminine, the water, flow, ease, trust, giving, pouring into, and then the stability structure of the jug that it gives from the water bearer Aquarian energy. It's an encapsulation of both of those. It's
beautiful. Yeah, that's a good image. Yeah, it is that container. And yeah, there's so much shifting. I mean, I think everyone feels it already, even like as well, the technology is growing so quickly, and that's a very Aquarian thing, you know, the futuristic, the innovator. I think the search for freedom is going to come out in different ways. Like, we're going to have to trust more deeply in our truth and be okay. I'm going to take radical responsibility for me. I think that's a word that's coming through for me, is like radical. How can we be radical in our lives? And also, how can we tap into that like inner rebel, right? Because Aquarians don't like rules. They're the ones that are going to break the rules and go, I'm carving my own path, this is what I want. So how can we connect with that inner rebel more, especially the good girls and people pleasers out there?
So true. That like rebellion of like, how do we rebel? Like, what do we want to move past? And you know, the thing with Aquarian energy, like, and I always just think of that sci-fi, that tech, and that, and when we look back to like the years, like the Aquarian energy does hold the polarity of life. Like, there's no doubt in it. Like, life is sometimes unfair, life doesn't feel good, we can go through like these monumental life-changing moments that are filled with upset, grief, you know, all the worst things that you think are possible to imagine, and we all know that they all live on the same frequency, the same plane. And I do feel like this Pluto and Aquarius, there's going to be this emergence. And I know, like with the Neptune in Aries as well shift, they talk about that shift of polarity of two worlds and choices. And you know, with what you said, Hannah, around like the freedom, I do feel like it's going to give like freedom of choice, freedom of truth. But again, if you're willing to hold back the fear, to believe in something more than you, to think in your truth and be within your truth, I do truly believe that we're going to be in a world where you're able to build from your value system. But it's how willing you are to go beyond the constraints that we've seen here today, which I feel like the technology aspect is going to allow us to evolve. And also, it's our ego within those technological systems. We can still play it really small. We can still not break boundaries. And I think that's where we're going to see a shift in like society and how people live and the polarity of it, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpick in what you said. And I think that, I think I want to, I guess, speak to that. Like, you know, I always think of Pluto as that energy, and I talk about the myth of Persephone going into that darkness, facing the fears, as you said, it's quite I'd say it's quite an earthy, fiery energy, but we've got it in an air sign. It's interesting. And I think as an image, I see like a volcano. You know, the Greeks used to build their mystery schools really close to volcanoes to honor the underworld. So it's some sort of, as you said, tapping into new technologies, but also somehow staying rooted in our, I feel like that word, like that sovereign power and that fire. How can we stoke the fire and use technology to support us? Because I don't think just technology is not the way.
No.
You know, it scares me a little bit, and people have different opinions on that. Of course, we've got to work with it, but we've also got to really stay rooted in what makes us human, our humanness, like you said, the grief, the fear, like actually be able to face all those things, as the Kali Ma card showed us, so that we can soar into a deeper dimension within ourselves. So it goes very deep.
It goes so deep, yeah. Like that whole AI topic on like how it meets humanity and the connection of it, and like, yeah, like systems are great, like these are great, but also then how the humanness is then able to interact with that and is encapsulated within that. We go way beyond like a system, and that's the thing. Like, it's like, are we just willing to go into boxes within the technology, or are we willing to rebel against that and build it in a way that serves everyone, that serves all?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good question. Rebelling it. Yeah, that's so true. So I wonder, have you got anything else to say on that Pluto and Aquarius?
So I feel like we could all
we could go on for an hour about that, but I'm feeling like, so moving on to what's going on, because we're in February now. Moving on from that into like the Mars retrograde, which by the way has been retrograde since the 8th of December 2024, and it's soon moving direct, which I know a lot of people will be very happy with, on the 23rd of Feb, but it's going to Cancer. So as you said, it is in Leo, isn't it?
It was in Leo, and it went into Cancer around like the full moon in Cancer, didn't it? It was like that true like opening around, you know, like we're actually talking on that Pluto and Aquarius topic to the Mars in Cancer, that fluidity, like as it moves through, because it's in there in February and March as well. How that is allowing us to tap it, because Cancer doesn't really like being in Mars.
No, it's not a good place.
But I think it really is stripping at us in terms of our vulnerability, our inner world.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think because, you know, I always think this, the Chinese say, I think people underestimate water, but actually water is the most powerful element of them all, because it molds rocks, it flows into the gaps, you know, it's incredibly powerful. As much as it can be soft and fluid, it can also be tidal and, you know, plasmic, right? So I think this whole Mars, just to say actually about the Mars retrograde, if for people that don't know, a retrograde is a time of reflection. So Mars retrograde, we might have felt like our motivation has waned recently, and it's hard to get things going. So with that Mars going direct on the 23rd of Feb, you'll probably find that there's energy moving again to put into those projects and ideas that have been simmering away during the winter months. And I think I always think of Mars in Cancer as like fiercely protective. You know, it's not happy there, but it's something around stripping away. How do we protect ourselves? Like, where do we put too many walls up, right? Because the sort of shadow of Cancer is that real hypersensitivity, you know, which, you know, we need. I always talk about sensitivity, but when it's hypersensitivity, it's like feels really exposed and really vulnerable. So, you know, this Mars energy might make you aware where you're putting those boundaries up, where you're actually falling into like passive aggressiveness. That's what I think of when I think of this energy, like really getting angry but not expressing it properly.
Yeah.
So getting angry inside but not voicing that. So being really aware of where you're doing that in your own life will be helpful.
So helpful. Do you know what? As you said that, Hannah, I was like, in my mind, I love it when we record things like this because it's like they come through. I was thinking like Mars in Cancer, like Cancer, ultimate feminine energy. Cancer's ruled by the moon, Mars. You know, like the Aries energy, the headstrong energy, and then you've got the Venus retrograde in Aries as well. So you're really seeing the polarity, and the Mars in Cancer is I was just noting it down here, that vulnerability, because like you say, the boundaries and the walls that we placed on ourselves, one of the sides that we can see, and we talk about divine feminine energy and masculinity and the patriarchy in all of its essence, but there's also a wounded feminine within all of us, and we act victim. We are victim, and I hold my hands up. This is coming from someone with ultimate victim mindset with my Chiron in Cancer. I hold my hands up.
Yep,
I do have this. But you know, we fall victim to our circumstances around us, and we want to play victim, we want to be the victim. But actually what the planet energies are doing is they're like, where do you want to hold yourself victim anymore? Where do you want to take back the power? Because the divine feminine, the Cancer moon, recognizes that it holds powers around trust, boundaries. What do I allow in? What comes in? Where do I feel safe? How can I own where I feel safe? And there's that as well, which is really at play. So there could be that sense of vulnerability around exposing your truths around, I think I'm really safe here, but actually I'm not. I don't feel at home here anymore.
I like that. That's a really good point. Yeah. And also, as you were saying, as you were speaking, I was thinking of like having, because Mars is also our courage, right? Our willpower as well. It's like finding courage in the chaos, because right, the divine feminine is chaotic. It can feel tumultuous, right? We all have a feminine side, whether you're a man or a woman, or whatever else in between. That's not politically correct, you know. And yeah, we all have that part of us, and it's acknowledging that the feminine is up and down like the water. It's not one energy all the time. It's fluid. One day it's up, one day it's down. So really being able to ride those waves when things feel chaotic is going to be really important through the you know, after the 23rd of Feb as well. Yeah.
We all have choice, right? We all have choice. We all have power of choice. We all have freedom of choice. But again, the Mars in Cancer is ultimately showing you where are you keeping yourself in constraints? And I kind of liken it to, and I know you'll get this, Hannah, but you know, like being self-employed, running your own business, following your life's purpose, even when the world outside of you doesn't really make sense. Be a sense of like, oh, well, that's lucky that you get to do that and you get to do that. But actually, then going to take courageous steps in doing things that may be like, I'm the first person ever in my family to go, I'm studying astrology and I'm going to teach people to be, which I'm sure you are the firstborn astrologer of your family. When you bring that back to a family, they're like, don't really understand that. And it's like, again, you can hold yourself in places, you can keep yourself there, you can be victim to those circumstances, or you can go, I'm going to try and pave the way my way. And I feel with that Pluto in Aquarius and that Mars retrograde in Cancer, it's really getting you into alignment with your values and to what's around you. I just likened it to our journey because it's like more like easily relatable, you know, could like stay in the comfort of my like 9-to-5 job, safe salary, instead of like sometimes being on the wave of being a business owner. But you know, life's
it's a good point. It is a good point, because as well, the other part of, you know, that Cancer energy is very much about what is safe, what is my home. And you know, that means different things to us, and I know on my path, home has been a weird concept, and that's probably my Chiron and Cancer. I've always kind of struggled to define that as a physical place, because I'm a traveler and I love you know, I kind of sounds cheesy, but to me, like home is a feeling rather than a physical place. So I feel there's part of this energy here in the Cancer is also, like you said, you being the first astrologers in our family, who knows, way back. But also there's this idea, what I was getting is that tapping into that ancestral wisdom that we all have, because there could be somebody way back that had that was an oracle and was a mystic in a different way. So in some way I think it's as well making us aware of that, you know, connecting with our ancestors, even if we didn't know them. Like I'm actually just waiting for a DNA test to come back, which I'm super excited about, from ancestry.com, because I've always been curious about like my roots. Like I don't really feel English, so I'll keep you posted on that.
I love that. I love how that transpired. You gave me food before. I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I'm just breaking down from like what I knew. And do you know what? The other thing that I thought is like this Mars in Cancer and the Venus in Aries that we will talk about that goes retrograde, and it also brings in the Saturn in Aries as well. These elements is like no one is coming. No one is coming to save you. No one's coming with a rescue jacket to come in there. Like if you're in the trenches, if you are where you are, you are where you are, and you build up from exactly where you are. You don't need fixing. You don't need the next fix to feel complete. If you are wherever you are right now, feel it, be in it, but also notice around where you want to choose, where you want to go, because no one is coming, but you're coming to get you. You are home. Yeah. Oh, it's so powerful. The astrology is just
goosebumps. Yeah. I love it. No one's coming to save you. It is true. And I think that the shadow side of that Cancer can go into, like you say, I'm a victim, I'm a martyr, someone needs to save me, like all the prince coming to rescue the princess type energy, the savior complex. And I know I've done it too, and probably still do. Like we all are guilty of that at some point. So it's really learning how to trust our intuition as well, because although Mars doesn't like being Cancer, there's something about connecting deeply in with that womb wisdom and that body wisdom that is deep within our veins, like a deep knowing. Sometimes you don't even know why you know something, it just feels right. So we're having to really trust and feel into that here, I think, with this Mars in Cancer. So I think, you kind of talked about it, but I feel like that segues into the Venus retrograde as well. So there's the Mars is going direct on the 23rd of Feb, and then we've got from the 1st of March Venus going retrograde in Aries, and till the 12th of April.
And that also is alchemized with the first Mercury retrograde of the year as well, isn't it? That Venus energy, which the Mercury retrogrades are all going to be in the fire signs. It will take a little bit of a spin in Pisces, but I thought that's quite notable actually, that how fired up. And Mars Leo retrograde with the Cancerian energy, again, that internal energy, it's like if you're bubbling up with fire frustration, Venus, Aries, retrograde, and you're internalizing it, you're going to feel it this year.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of dinner plates smashed if you don't let the anger out. I love that. Yeah.
Or you're not going to be a very nice home to live in if, like, in your own skin, like that voice will be living rent free in your head with the fire signs in.
That's a good point. There is a lot of fire energy, and that water might feel like it's been tempered down, and also the water could put the fire out. So be mindful. I think that's it. Is we've so been taught in this culture to not express our anger, particularly as women. So, and I feel like that's still a big part of my journey, is learning how to express that anger healthily, because it will eventually, if you hold it in, it will make you resentful, it'll make you bitter, it'll probably make you unwell in your health, right? You know, anger also leads to disease. And I also always think of that Aries energy when there's an excess of Aries energy is that can manifest as like headache or tension in the head.
Yeah.
So being mindful of that through the whole Mars and the Venus retrograde from the 1st of March to the 12th of April is like, when you're getting stressed, how can you take a step back? Because you're not going to help your health if you keep ramming forwards, literally like that ram. It's like, you know, because I think the thing with when there's a lot of fire, it's spontaneous and it's impulsive, but it can also burn out quite quickly. So I think that this Venus retrograde is you know, we're reassessing our values, our relationships, with it being in Venus, money, yeah, the way we see ourselves. So self-worth is a theme as well. But I feel like that's really going to help us with the whole tapping into that self-assertiveness, you know, being more courageous, stepping into that leader that we know we are within us. So there's no holding back here.
No holding back. I know. I am a Venus in Aries. My Venus is in Aries.
Yeah.
And the thing that I want to say, like, wholeheartedly from a Venus in Aries, so I'm with you, but like, don't go in like with quick fixes to help like build your sense of self-esteem, like through the external world. Like, again, like coming back to that Pluto in Aquarius, like Venus likes to acquire things. It likes luxury, likes to be connected to the physical world and its physical senses. And that Aries energy, like you say, it can be like headstrong, it can be bold, it can be compulsive in what it wants in order to achieve it. And it almost gets so far forward that it looks back and it's like, what have I built here? What have I taken action towards? And where have I led myself into a space and place that maybe I don't want to be, that I don't feel good anymore? And with that Venus in Aries, like, take a breather, like take a step, like before you take the action, like, is this in line with my values? Does it feel good? Am I taking action based off something that I've been led into and I'm now leading from this point of view because this is what I've always known? Or am I leading from my heart? Am I leading from my values? Am I leading from what I love, from who I want to be, for how I want to lead my life? You know?
I love that. They're really good questions. Yeah. And spoken from a Venus in Aries. And actually, thanks for that, because I don't have access to Aries in my chart. My Aries is intercepted. So it's funny. I always kind of find it hard to tap into the Aries energy. I have fire in my chart, but that Aries is sort of, yeah, hard to access for me. So
it's impulsive on what it wants. And with Venus, you know, like we've spoken about that feminine energy, like that like, let me fix it really quick, like let's get to the result really quick because it's going to make me feel really good. And then you get there and it's like, this isn't what I want, this isn't what I value. How did I end up here? You know, pace yourself, lead yourself, be with yourself, tap into that Venus Taurus energy. Slow and steady wins the race.
Love that. Yeah, I mean, my Venus is in Aquarius, so it's very different. It's a bit detached and aloof about, oh yeah, love me, but give me space. So yeah, and you know what I'm getting is interesting. We will go on to the like eclipses later, but feeling, you know, we've had the eclipse season in Libra and Aries for quite a few years. So that whole focus on ourselves, Aries, and Libra, the other, this, I feel like this Venus retrograde is also calling us like, okay, where am I actually being too self-centered? And where do I maybe need to compromise a little bit? Because there is a stubbornness to Aries, which, you know, can have this real strong willpower. If you think of the ram, it's like, right, this is what I'm doing and I'm holding to that. And without Aries energy, I can say I'm quite stubborn, but that might also be my Capricorn energy, you know. So just asking yourself, where are you being too self-centered, and maybe where do you need to give more in some of your relationships as well?
Yeah, and do you know what I love about this? Because it's happening in March, and I know we're going to touch upon the nodes, but then we've got Neptune that's going to be going direct into Aries, and we've got Saturn going into Aries as well. So we're going to see this accumulation of completion through these planets moving into the Aries sign. But there's a real sense around, and we will talk on it more, but how can you allow dreams and visions to flow through you with a trust for the universe that something greater than you is at work? And yeah, you want things and you want to accomplish things and you want to be this person that you know you're destined to be, that you know you're connected to be, and there's wishes and unfulfilled wishes and desires within you because you're a creator at the end of the day. But how about, and this is why I can't wait for the North Node in Pisces, dropping into, I'm going to allow the universe to work through me, and I'm going to trust that it's got a bigger plan and that it's going to lead me and take me, Aries energy, to where I'm destined to be. And I'm not going to play around with it, be fixed in it, do all the things that I think that I've got to do, Aries energy. And I'm just going to trust that the universe is going to meet me and support me wholeheartedly.
It's beautiful.
I
Yeah,
can't wait.
I love it. Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps from that. It's yeah, because that Pisces energy really does see everything as connected, and it's a web, which it's about the other. It's about being of service, which we will touch on the lunar nodes in a minute. But it's yeah, I think it is a more fluid energy, a more trusting, surrendering to almost what the universe is showing us as well. Like, I know I've had to let go a lot of control, which my Capricorn finds hard, but I'm a Pisces rising, so there is this trusting your intuition, trusting where you're being guided to, even if it doesn't make sense, you know, because a lot of the times those intuitive nudges might seem so crazy and so like random that you're like, what? You know, you have to trust that process.
Yeah.
So,
You
yeah.
know what, Hannah, like, you're the ultimate, like, whenever I speak to you about astrology, you're always like, but how about like the integration of that, Stephen? I was thinking of you with like integration. You always talk so beautifully about integration. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, imagine the integration of the Neptune in Pisces, which has kept us within our inner world, within the intuitive sense of where we want to be, maybe holding victim to ourselves in particular circumstances. But imagine if we integrated that and we've capitalized on our internal worlds, the dreams, the beliefs, the connection to something that we know to be true, that we don't know how it's going to come in, and then leading into that Saturn in Aries energy and the Neptune in Aries, flowing into that with that integration of knowing of like, I'm going to allow the universe to lead me to opportunities. I'm going to allow the universe to lead me to the action, to lead me to the spaces where I'm destined to be without that control. That is integration of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do love integration. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because it is important, you know. I think there is definitely a heady side of astrology. So it's like, how can you bring those energies into the body, and feel it and know it, like you're saying. And I think that, you know, because the Venus is going to be moving to Pisces on the 27th of March, you know, I always get that there can be some disillusion in our relationship. So, you know, I bet we're all guilty of that at some point, seeing things through rose-tinted glasses. Where are you looking at relationships through those rose-tinted glasses? And you're not actually allowing yourself to see the truth. And there is, as we touched upon, there is a victim side to that. Maybe where are people draining you? And I know can be really difficult. It's actually letting go of certain people if they're draining your energy and they are overstepping boundaries. That's where the poor Pisces can be swimming without any boundaries, and it's like, right, this is my space, this is yours, these are my feelings, and you are responsible for your feelings, I'm not responsible for that. So yeah, just be mindful that you don't swim in that sea. But also Venus in in Pisces is a beautiful energy. It's a very dreamy, as you said, the visions, the allowing ourselves to daydream and trust in that process. So it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? When you said that, I love when you look at astrological patterns and that, and then how they layer up and they build up. And then sometimes, like, there's always, I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're hearing similar themes come up. And it's like, here I am again. Are you going to learn from this lesson? Yep. Victimhood, taking action, trusting me. There is a real, you're already feeling the collective theme. And, you know, you said about the year 9. Karma, completion. Pisces is the last sign. We've got the Neptune in Pisces. We've got the North Node going into Pisces, the Saturn in Pisces energy, and then that South Node in Virgo. That's going to be really getting you to your core around, like, look at your life, your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And find magic within it. Be within it. Feel the magic within the life. You know. It's that grounder, isn't it? It's like, are you ready to take the steps to build, you know?
That's really, because that Pisces energy is as beautiful and floaty as it is, it does need grounding. I'm always saying this to people that are very watery. You need to ground, you need to go out into nature, you know, because otherwise you feel you drift, you end up drifting in life. So that is an important point. And like moving on to that, I feel like we're going into that, the lunar node shift. So I think I touched upon it. We had the last eclipse. No, we've got the last eclipse on the Aries Libra axis in March. Somehow I haven't got a date on that.
Should have it.
Where is it? Which is a solar eclipse in Aries. We will find that for you. Oh, no, I have. So
29th
of March. Yeah, this is why I need 2 of us, because I lose my thoughts. So 29th of March, that's a solar eclipse in Aries. So we've been on that axis of relationships, the other Libra relationships. How can I create more beauty and harmony? And that Aries is who am I the leader, like how do I initiate things? It's very much about passion and following, you know, the power of intention. So we've moved from an air fire to is moving into the Virgo and Pisces eclipse, lunar node, sorry. So the first lunar eclipse on the Virgo Pisces axis on the 14th of March. So yeah, this is a lot more about service and, you know, how can I support the collective? Although it's different to the Aquarian energy, there is very much about how can I bring healing. That's very Pisces. How can I tap into my intuition, that mystical spiritual realm, which you can see in the world and collective has been a massive trend or like movement, right? In the last few years, massive. So there is a softer side. I think there is more compassion in the world for sure. There is also, you know, awful things happening, but there is a deeper compassion that I feel with that.
Yeah, there is that deeper compassion, isn't there? I think I loved what you described about like the Aquarius, Virgo and the Pisces, because that there is that collective sense. They are very like giving and of service signs in that sense, particularly like Virgo. I just think of Earth when you think of Virgo, and Aquarian energy, like the water giver. It's like, here's the water for the earth. It's like those two energies meeting, and Pisces is water. And it's really like that sense again, like that me, that we, like how are you of service? You know, it's okay, like, and I'm a Pisces, thinking of like big dreams and visions and things that you want for yourself. But again, these lunar nodes and these eclipses are really going to allow you to drop into what it is that you want, what it is that you desire, and what the dream is, but equally how it is of service to others, how it gives to your life, and how through you being this version of yourself and connecting to these parts of you intuitively, spiritually, and allowing yourself to be a conduit for the universe to give more service through you to other people. Virgo energy, like, what can I do for you? How can I help you? I just think of waitresses with Virgo energy, like, enjoy your meal, let me take that away, like, do you need a drink? All those like little things. And when you get bad service, you know, right? And I'm thinking of this, of like the lunar node in Pisces, like, where are you giving yourself bad service, and then that in turn is having a ripple effect on the world around you, right? How can you cultivate that relationship within yourself, that it's full, that it's good, that the acts of service that you give to yourself, the self-care, has that ripple effect outside of you as well?
That's a really good reminder. Yeah, because if we're not recharged, if we're not filling our own cup up, then we can't give that to others. You know, you can only give to others what you give to yourself. And I feel like that you sum that up beautifully. It's almost like I'm getting the word, it's like faith and trust versus the practical organized details of Virgo. Because Pisces loves to swim in the vision, and then Virgo's like, well, right, how are we going to make that happen? What's the plan? What's the action plan? So, and there's a discernment in that, you know, there is to be discerning, you know, with what you focus your energy on. Because if you've got a million different ideas, this is something I'm still learning, is you're not meant to act on all the ideas, particularly not all at once. So that Virgo gives us a bit more of a discernment. Okay, it's more intentional, right? Okay, this is the project I'm focusing on. Okay, this, I'm going to focus on this for a month or two, and then I'm going to give my energy to that. So there is an organized discernment there for sure.
Yeah.
Which is really important.
I know. I liken the Pisces Virgos, North Node and South Node, to like the big friendly giant, because good old Roald Dahl like fueled my childhood. But the big friendly giant, he collects dreams, he deciphers dreams, and he helps them, like, help people dream into their world. And he does it in a really like Virgo way. They're contained within bottles within his workshop, and he eats the same sandwich every day, but he goes on the same route, where he is then encountered by other giants that pick on him, and he keeps himself in a small little box and is only able to be so much of service because he's not willing to face what's outside of him, because he escapes during the night, so he doesn't wake them up. So that Piscean energy, that kind of victim thing comes in, and he can be greater of service. And as you see through the movie and the story, that all transpires, and he gets that greater connection, and he can be more of service through his work. And that's what this is about. It's like that magic in the everyday, like, where are you capping yourself off, where you could expand your love, you can expand your vision, you can expand your service to so many others. And that's where that discernment comes in, around like, where am I capping my ability to give more? Because that dream, that vision that's within your heart, it was placed with you for a reason, and you've got everything within you to give it. But where are you holding yourself in that victim zone of not being able to come to that full fulfillment, but outdated beliefs?
I love that. Yeah, I feel your Venus in Aries on this call. I love it. Yeah, it's that's a beautiful illustration of that energy, and I've never thought of the BFG. I love that. It was great, but it's also, yeah, it is. That's a beautiful, vision of that. And it's like, I always think of Virgo, the fertile earth. It's it is a divine feminine energy. But again, what seeds are you planting in that fertile earth? They need to grow, and you need to give them space and time. Exactly. And it doesn't happen overnight. So there's a slow growth with that Virgo energy as well. You know, the Pisces is expansive, but it's bringing it down to the practical level, as we've mentioned.
Exactly. Yeah, and being able to do that.
Yeah, and it's this last happened actually in which I can't remember what's happening in my life, but to give you a perspective, the Virgo Pisces axis eclipses on the axis happened last in 2006, June 23rd to December 18th, 2007. So you can always look back, and I always think it's interesting to look back at what was going on in your life, and maybe what, if there were more themes of being of service and healing, if you are in this spiritual wellness realm, maybe that's when your business was booming or something, you know, that was really significant for you. So there's patterns and there's themes, and that might be a theme for you again through these eclipses.
Yeah.
So feeling, because otherwise we'll be here for hours.
Yeah.
So what else we've got?
We've covered so much, haven't we?
We have. There's a few more things. I feel like the Neptune, there's a lot of, again, well, we touched on it, the Aries energy. I think just to speak to the Neptune goes into Aries on the 30th of March. So we're still in March. There's a lot going on. So actually, again, you know, Neptune, as you mentioned, has been in Pisces for 13 years. So that's where this spiritual world has been such a, you know, it's been in the mainstream more. So it's going to be interesting seeing the Neptune move into Aries. It's about more leading ourselves, which we did touch upon a little bit. That courage, that impulsivity, being the initiator of our own lives, because we're the only ones that can create that change.
Yeah. You're so, that Neptune in Aries, and again, maybe just seeing where you're more readily feeling able to lead yourself, or where you're looking outside of yourself for that confirmation. I think, like you said, that Neptune in Pisces, that connection to spirituality, to our intuition, and then how we can lead from that perspective. But again, recognizing, I always think Neptune, like the gold page. It's like in the rose tinted glasses, like you're like in a gilded cage, and you can think life's really good here and keep yourself within it. But actually, if you venture out, there's more possibility for you. It's just whether you're willing to go and adventure in the sea. I think of Neptune's mermaid energy, like willing to venture out a little bit further to see beyond the horizons, or maybe demystify what's given to you, like question things. Don't take things as like face value. Question things.
Question things. Sorry, my phone was for some reason going off on my laptop. Questioning. And I think Neptune was in its home in Pisces, so moving into Aries might feel a little bit, there might be a conflict within us. So actually, I don't always look back, and I don't always do loads of research on this, but it's interesting. I did find that Neptune in Aries, that last happened in the 1860s. So that's a slow moving planet, which was a period of radical spiritual change. And actually that was when the first printing press happened, and the opening of the New York Stock Exchange. So it's almost like that leader, that initiating energy is really going to be key.
And it's interesting because if you think like from a collective sense, you think there's been a real push on, like, you know, where it says like publishing, there's a real change and shift in social media. If we look at like printing, like publishers, social media is a way that we can, and the things are changing and evolving there. Like blogging's making a real kind of comeback as well, isn't it? Like print. In terms of like my own words, I've got ownership over this, I hold this. And if we look at the stock exchange in terms of finances and money, and how much of our safety can be built up through the financial systems, be interesting to see the development of, which again, Pluto and Aquarius, maybe new monetary systems. And
and the cryptocurrency is there's a new movement in that as well. Like you said, it'd be interesting to see what evolves from that. So moving on, we're getting there, because, you know, there's so much to talk about, but I think going on to May, then we've got another planet. This is a lot of outer planet shifts. So Saturn is moving into Aries as well. So we've really ramped up on that cardinal fire sign. And so that's happening on the 24th of May to the 1st of September 2025. So Saturn is not in its happy place in Aries because Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius, which is very, there is God, don't I know it? There is there is a structure to Saturn, but there's also rigidity. So rigidity and fire do not go well together. So there might actually be a real feeling of restriction when it comes to, you've got those passions and those drives to do things, but things aren't moving because Saturn is slow. Saturn is about, like I say, you're building a house, you put one brick and then you lay the next brick, and it's a process which takes time. But Aries, as we've spoken about, is right, let's do it now. What's happening? What's moving? So Saturn is going, okay, you need to be a bit more patient. So it's almost calming that impulsivity. We need sometimes to be impulsive and spontaneous, but there's a balance here, and making sure we don't fall into those ego traps, I think, is really important with that Saturn Aries, because we then forget about the other again. That Aries can be self-centered sometimes, if there's a lot of that energy. So it's going, okay, this is what I want, but how else can I take responsibility for the collective and what I'm putting out there as well? So there's a boldness to it, and there is a brashness, but we need that. We need more courage, right? So there's a balancing act there. It's like a warrior energy, but a warrior can also be a gentle warrior. Doesn't have to be a warlike god that is, firing bows and arrows everywhere. It can be more discerning. So think of it like that.
Yeah. My Venus in Aries, like with what you describe, because I've got a Libra moon and that complexity, embodying my Venus in Aries more has allowed me to drop some of the people pleasing tendencies and really go for things, embracing more of that part of my chart. And I feel like that's what that Saturn in Aries is doing, particularly with the eclipse shifts that we've had. It's like, how can I lead myself from this place and build things for me, on me, and what I desire, a little bit like that Pluto and Aquarius, and really allowing us to step into our value system, to step into our definition of success and what that looks like. And then the Saturn in Aries is really giving us the means to bring that in, to take the action towards that, to move towards it. Like you say, in that patient, balanced way, like it's firing us up to go, actually, I don't agree with all of that, and I don't agree with what I've been fed, and this is my value system, and this is how I want to build it. Like you said, the battle is going to be pacing ourselves down, because we might feel eternally fueled up by it, like this is my time to go, and then equally it's like, okay, but pace yourself. Yourself.
It's almost like taking more considered actions from the heart, from that, I'm lit up about this. That is very Aries, the power of intention, but also being consistent with those steps. Like the Saturn is like, right, one step at a time, one action, inspired action a day. So I feel like that is a good word, inspired action, because the Aries will inspire us and motivate us, and the Saturn will go, okay, but I need to take an action forwards.
And like you said, the opposing, the Libra energy to that, the opposer of it, which we've seen, will allow us to demystify maybe where we are, like people pleasing tendencies, and allow us to integrate what we've learned from these eclipses to begin to embody that.
Very important. Yeah, self-leadership for sure. So we've got a few more things, because we've also got the Jupiter So in May, if we're moving on to May, well, we are in May, Jupiter is going into Gemini on the 25th of May till the 9th of June. By the way, I will try and drop these dates in the description of this video, so don't worry remembering all of these things. Which is interesting because obviously Gemini is a very inquisitive, dynamic energy, that air. So I feel like this Jupiter is really going to expand our minds, and almost like with anyone that's got strong Gemini energy is sort of can be a jack of all trades. They're full of knowledge and wisdom of all different subjects. So you might find, or if you're a multi-passionate person like us, or I define myself as that, you might find yourself going, okay, I've done all these different courses and these trainings, and how can I actually tap into those skills and maybe monetize them? Because Jupiter is about abundance and money and growth and expansion. So it could be growing us, it could also be growing our skills that we already have. But I feel like there's some sort of like, how can I bring more abundance in from these skills that I already have? How can I maybe teach these skills? Gemini is often the teacher. So being a bit dynamic, particularly if you have like a kind of creative spiritual business, how can you expand that and grow that in different ways? I think it will get you thinking about that.
Yeah, and what we've learned, and coming back to ourselves of like our own like internal resources around our skills and our knowledge, and what you've learned and how you're growing. I always think with that Gemini energy, like seeing yourself as like your own journal, the pages within you, and what have you learned about yourself for each chapter of your book and story, and how are you going to take leadership within that, you know? And do you want anyone to help like co-author some of your pages as you navigate different things, or were there particular co-authors throughout your time that gifted you wisdom and insight that have allowed you to be that more, like you say, dynamic person? Yeah,
it's a good point. It's it's almost quite like, I think of it as a platonic energy as well. So maybe expanding like platonic relationships or something. Gemini is the one that knows everyone, and it's also, maybe it can symbolize your neighborhood as well. So it may be just like getting on with your neighbors or connecting with your neighbors. Very much about communication. There is a ramp up in how we communicate. One way. So you might find you want to talk more and share your skills online or something like that. So that's quite a good, nice energy. And then anything else you want to say on that?
No, I feel like that's nice.
So we have a couple more. So then Jupiter is going to enter Cancer on the 9th of June. So after that, it's going to move into Cancer till the 30th of June. So this is brilliant. I mean, because Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, which means it's in a good, harmonious place. So going back to, I know we were talking on the Mars in Cancer. This is a really nice feeling, like a coming home to yourself energy, expanding, maybe your connection with your family or people that feel like family. There might be a real longing to connect with your roots and connect with maybe your ancestors. Maybe it's getting a DNA test. There's a feeling of soul. I get this like soul memory with Cancer. It's like, I want to know where I come from. From a deeper place, from like a womb space. Where did I come from? So I'm feeling like it might be a really good time to like visit where you came from. Maybe if you moved abroad, you go back to your motherland. A good time to travel, because Jupiter also symbolizes travel, as well as like money and growth. So it might inspire more travel or adventures to see your family. It could be that.
Yeah, definitely. I just admiring, like, you're talking of Jupiter, it just brings out your Sagittarius midhaven.
It's interesting, isn't it?
I love listening to you talk about it. I was like, you could see your
Yeah, GP, yeah, Moon in Sag. There we go.
you vibe, you're vibing there with the Jupiter.
Yeah, it's really funny because your Venus comes alive talking about the Venus in Aries. So it's interesting how we all kind of connect with certain energies, and certain ones we struggle to like connect with more, right? I definitely find that. So
Yeah. No, I know. It's like, oh, I can really see. Yeah, Jupiter and Cancer, like you said, it feels like the ultimate homecoming. And it's like when I said like this cyclical nature, we could talk forever and ever, but you can tell the key theme, the Mars in Cancer, where we were talking about at home in yourself. You are your greatest home, the expansion of self. This is all leading into this Jupiter and Cancerian energy, that ultimate homecoming, connecting back to what makes you feel most cozy in your own skin, at home in your own skin. And really, this is the building block for the end of 2025 is really backdropped by the Jupiter in Cancer. I feel like everyone is going to feel like a sense of homecoming, of coming home in some sense of the word. And like you say, I loved how you said around, I feel like that's a whole YouTube topic for you to talk about your ancestry and how it connects to this. I just think that's so cool. But
I'll bring it.
There is, I feel like there could be like a real nostalgia towards the end of the year, you know, and whether it's like the home comforts, when we look towards like the midpoint of the year, like summer holidays, what did you connect to? Your Christmas things with that Jupiter in Cancer. There could be all those sense of like feeling at home in yourself and connecting back to those home comforts.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's important. And maybe seeking out those nurturing figures in your life, because Cancer is such a yin energy. It's the feminine, it's, you know, people that you just feel comfortable around. So yeah, spending more time with them, as you say, it's going to be in June. That seems so far away in that summer. So yeah, just feeling that sense of belonging. Yeah,
could be like Greece, you know, like summer loving, like, you know, just one of those feels like, yeah, maybe just being reconnected back to like moments and memories. You know, I always say like with retrogrades and Mercury retrogrades and that, they're like these perfect opportunities. There is actually one in Cancer season. I don't know if I've got it written down here. It is in, yeah, it touches on Leo. It's in Leo actually during the summer months, around that time that we see that. So again, it could be that real like coming home to you, you know, fun, freedom, that creative, loving Leo energy. There could be that bringing back that nostalgia. I always think retrogrades bring back nostalgia too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, nostalgia. Yeah. Okay, so I got one more thing on here because there is so much in 2025. That's why I felt called to do this video. So the last thing that we can just mention is that Uranus is also moving into Gemini. So the 7th of July to the 7th of November 2025. So we'll have that Jupiter in Gemini expanding that dynamic side of us, communicate more. Uranus brings, and I've said this word before, that there's a radical side to Uranus. There is a kind of sudden change or unexpected things that can come through that Uranian energy. So, you know, straight away we were talking about technology. It could be, because we're in Gemini, the air, it could be the heightened sense or heightened need for technology. Some people feeling that is what they want to use in their lives. But it will definitely open up, I feel like it might even open up new technologies. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But expanding the way we learn as well. You know, maybe we learn in more radical ways, or really sort of thinking outside of the box of how we receive information, because that's, you know, that is a Gemini theme, how we receive, but also how we teach and give information. You know, it's ruled by Mercury. So that is, you know, thinking about Hermes, the messenger god that flies between the upper world and the middle world, and it's that almost get this image of these antennae, feeling for information. Downloads might be coming in. We might be getting like visions that kind of come out of nowhere. That's very Uranian.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Like yeah, the rebel. I mean, look, we've got a technology that's called Gemini now. Is it Google that have taken on the word Gemini for something I've seen somewhere? It is AI Gemini. I think it is, isn't
Oh,
it?
yeah, I think it is.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's on my Google profile thing. Like, I did laugh at that because I was like, Jupiter in Gemini, that came out. Uranus in Gemini, up and coming.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah. I completely agree with everything that you've said, that like evolution of self. And again, like our ability from that subconscious part of us, that radicalization around how we can take ownership of our words more, authority over our words, how we speak, how we connect. And also I definitely think with Uranus in Gemini and collectively, and I think this shows in the Pluto and Aquarius, the air again, like how our communication goes way beyond what we talk. Like, even being able to feel like more communication with this through the sense of energy, being more connected to energy, which we've already seen a real shift, haven't we? And 80% of our way we communicate is our body language, which is energy.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, sound healing again is going to be big. The power through music, which we already can see, and the mediums in terms of how we communicate and connect. There'll be much more of a sense of, yeah, energy is everything. I want to say with Uranus and Gemini.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just hope we don't lose that real. Yeah, Uranian is very much about expanding new technologies, but I just hope we don't lose that human connection there, because the air, it can go into that aloofness, like detached. I'll stay behind my screen type thing. So be interesting to see. And actually Uranus will settle into Gemini. I'll be there for 6 years, so it's going to be there for a while. So it's almost interesting. I saw that. I'm a late comer to these things. I only just saw that this week, the humanoid, the robot thing that Tesla created. I mean, it's just nuts. Stuff like that. I mean, you just don't know where it's going to go.
You know what, Hannah? In November, remember when Pluto went into Aquarius in November? Literally on that day, Kim Kardashian put on her stories, Tesla had dropped off a robot and one of their new self-driving cars. And I remember I shared it to my stories and I was there like, welcome to Pluto in Aquarius.
Wow.
Like, this is like the ultimate. And that's how I'd encountered it. I'd seen it on something and I went to her stories because I was like, oh my gosh, this is like astrology in real life terms.
Yeah, that's a great example of
And
that.
you can see it. And I was like, oh, that is, yeah, technology. And yeah, it's how, again, if it comes from the heart, which is what we're going to see in this lifetime that we're in. We are in the age of Aquarius. Is it coming from the heart or is it coming from the ego? And we are in a time of polarity, more so than ever.
Yeah, there's so much going on. Yeah. And it's very different because Uranus has been in Taurus, which is very much a difficult place for it as well, because it's been such an earth sign that is all about like, the home and the sense of security and, our finances and our money and, our sense of abundance and peace. With Taurus moving into Gemini, yeah, the focus really is that communication piece, that teach. How can I teach? How can I learn from also these technologies? But maintain that real life communication is so important. Yeah.
Be human, please.
Yeah, there's so much going on. Is there anything else you want to mention?
No, I feel like that is complete, guys. I hope that everyone has loved it as much as I have recorded it. But yeah.
Oh, it's been fun. And
it's been good.
I will type out the dates and put them below this video for anyone watching. So yeah, there's a lot going on in 2025. Hopefully you can use it to support your soul expansion and your soul growth, and just harness these energies, particularly the Jupiter in Cancer. Oh, thanks, Stevie. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.